Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very important motion. I want to first thank the Honorable Member, Honorable Jane. This particular motion touches the hearts of Kenyans in so many ways. Madam Speaker, when you look at even the agenda of the Kenya Kwanza government, part of the agenda is accelerating agricultural production and manufacturing for value addition. And unless we tame the cost of energy in general, which includes both petroleum and electricity, then it is going to be a tall order for us to be able to achieve this particular goal. However, Madam Speaker, it is important for all of us to, from the onset, understand what really constitutes a power bill. The power bill you see monthly constitutes of a component that comes out of a charge relating to a generation, which is charged by the person selling the power as the feed-in tariff. There is a component of evacuating that power, which is the transmission, largely now done by Ketraco. There is the component in distribution of this particular power, which is done by REREC and Kenya Power. There are taxes, and then you get your final bill at the last mile. Madam Speaker, the problem of energy costs is a very complicated one. And it is not just about the IPPs. It is about a well-calculated and even tried to use all possible means to frustrate the process of getting affordable power. We have a generator like KenGen, and to give you quick statistics, 1 year sampled, I think last year, but one, the total power produced by KenGen was 72% of the total power that was bought by Kenya Power. 25% of the total power bought by Kenya Power was from other IPPs or independent power producers. Now the interesting math is that this 72% bought from KenGen was actually the same cost in terms of how much Kenya Power paid KenGen. It was the same cost as the 25% that was sold to the same Kenya Power by independent power producers. Now, the cartel system is such that if today these IPPs we are talking about were to switch off, I will want to guarantee you that we would not have power in the country, in as much as it's very little power supply they are providing us, because they have refined the system to hold us hostage. And how? We need to understand power. It's not about generation. The most important thing we need to put into consideration is how to evacuate the power that we produce. The cartels have devised a way to ensure that we do not succeed in evacuating cheap power to Kenyans, because that is where now the main issue is. And I want to give you an example. If you go to the dispatcher one evening when we have our highest peaking demand, you will notice that we only have about 5% to play around with. We are almost using every other power that we can be able to access. You will notice that there are many a times when we have idle power at KenGen that we are not using, and at the same time we are buying very, very expensive power by thermal power producers. And then you ask yourself why. Now we have what we call on-grid and off-grid connections. There are Kenyans who are not yet connected as part of the main grid. And these Kenyans need access to power. Now, there has been a deliberate effort to frustrate connecting these Kenyans to the national grid by frustrating such connections by KETRACO that would otherwise evacuate this power and then relieve or retire the expensive power connections. And therefore, while KenGen is selling power to us at a cost of 6 US cents per kilowatt hour, we are forced at times to buy power at over 52 US cents per kilowatt hour, while we still have surplus at KenGen because we can't evacuate this power from KenGen to where it is needed. Now, when I looked at the BPS, for instance, I saw a deliberate effort to ensure that we take longer in doing projects that are low-hanging fruits that will quickly evacuate power, this cheap power, so that Kenyans can access cheaper power. And then you will find that there has been a strategy to deny funding to this kind of projects that evacuate this power. And one of those projects, for instance, I want to give you an example. We are buying power at 52 US cents per kilowatt hour from Moroni gas. Moroni gas is the most expensive IPP in the country. Now, Moroni gas can be retired. For instance, if we complete the Sondu-Homa Bay Awendo line, if we complete Lesos-Nakuru line, Bomet line, then we actually evacuate geothermal to otherwise the same places that are served currently by Moroni gas and otherwise. But what will the cartels do? The cartels will ensure that they use forces to ensure that you don't complete these lines so that they continue selling expensive power. When you look at, for instance, largely bigger part of cost has been surviving on Kipevu until now we got a connection from Suswa, which was still not enough to evacuate enough power from Mombasa region. Now we have done the Suswa-Mariakani line. Look at how much we would require to evacuate power from Mariakani to parts of Mombasa, Dogokundu, and others. Then we find that it is a small component. But that component, in many of the budgets that we are receiving, you find that that particular component has not been prioritized for funding because there are, of course, thermal producers who would want to navigate their way to ensure that they continue selling expensive power. And therefore, Madam Speaker, it is important for us to understand that there are various components that contribute to our power bill. The biggest being the cartels under the IPP arrangement. Again, ourselves, allowing ourselves to be blackmailed by these cartels. The process of signing contracts that are skewed to continue fleecing Kenyans. Madam Speaker, the committee takes this particular motion very serious. The resolution proposed that the committee should undertake a complete inquiry into this particular matter. I want to commit on behalf of the committee that we are going to give this particular exercise or particular motion the particular priority that it requires, and we will report to this House. And you can expect that there is going to be heads rolling on this particular matter of energy cost. It's so huge that it can't be handled in a day, in a matter of minutes, but we are going to come